take you home.
Hello and welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the number one Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever.
Hey, how you doing today?
I thought we were pausing. I'm like, what are you doing? We're pausing.
Green. Blew my hair back. If I didn't have so much hair gel in my hair, that would have blew my hair back. Are we recording? Yeah. Were you recording that? Yeah. Okay, we're going. We're just using it then. That's fine.
Oh, I was messing with you. I wasn't ready.
No, we're fine. Let's go.
Well, I'm not set yet.
You got to put your poker chips out, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
How many do you chew? Hey, everybody count how many of those Larry chews during a whole show.
9 an episode.
You've been counting?
Well, he puts out 9. I don't know how many he eats, but he has to have 9 on the table every time.
All right, let's count and see how many.
Okay, wait. Hold on.
Right?
Because I'm not that anal about anything today. I've got 12.
No, you are.
Okay. I'm not. I don't want it. I don't want it to sound.
It's too late, Larry.
No, I don't want it to sound like. Well, it has to be exactly 9.
But it obviously does have
It
to be.
has to be
Hey.
9
I'm so
Gotta have 9 on
because I've usually eaten several of them in Ambassadors.
I'm so glad you guys don't look at the YouTube thumbnails that I put out because you guys probably would have been mad at me at the one I put out last week.
Yeah, what'd you do?
I put
I saw a couple.
I put a thumbnail out on this last episode of everybody out playing the trumpet.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Well, since I didn't play the trumpet, I just had a picture of me holding it like this, smiling. But then Martin playing and then you playing the trumpet, I had a thumbnail out of
That's
that.
not what I did. I did not play the trumpet. Larry
I didn't
actually
play.
played.
I just blew.
Yeah.
I blew in the trumpet. That's all I did.
Dude,
Right.
it was funny too. Like when I was editing the audio at the end, there was this like super big note at the end. I go, I bet that was Larry playing the trumpet, and I skipped over to it and pressed play. And I was like, yeah, that was Larry playing the trumpet. I was like, well, that's how advanced I am at getting audio editing. I can tell when certain like audio waves or something. So,
Well, I'm glad you are because, quite frankly, I don't need to be.
well, I say advanced. I'm not anywhere near advanced. So we have a very special guest in studio today. My son Jonah is in here.
Yay!
He is one of the prayer warriors today, isn't he?
Yes.
He said a very prolific prayer during today's prequel, I guess you could say.
Prolific?
Yeah.
Is that a good word?
Powerful, maybe?
Efficient.
Prolific, is it?
Doesn't prolific mean like lots of words?
Oh,
Maybe.
Maybe.
Efficient.
you don't ever hit the ball without swinging the bat, and that's what I'm doing with these words.
Did you know? Did you know this? He cannot throw the ball until you release the ball.
What?
Yeah.
It is not considered a throw until you release.
Right.
Oh,
Some red pill, blue pill
Yeah,
stuff.
that's good.
I have a meme.
What's the meaning behind that?
I have
though?
a meme on Facebook where it's got the guy holding the red pill, and he's like, "What if I told you you had to let go of the ball before I could throw the ball?" And then the next picture is a bunch of dogs going.
That's funny.
So I'm just jabbering.
Yeah. Yeah. Today we have it's Will the Trucker.
Will the Trucker.
He is an atheist, I believe. We'll get him on to figure out. He may be agnostic or agnostic atheist. So we'll get him on here in a little bit to figure out what his whole deal is. I haven't really talked to this one that much. This one came from Indy, so this is going to be a surprise for me too. So you don't like that? You're okay with me not being surprised and y'all surprised, but Larry sounds uncomfortable that I'm going to be surprised too.
No, no.
Okay.
That wasn't that way. I actually should have quite a bit in common with him. He's a trucker.
Yeah.
If he's actually a trucker.
Yeah. No, he is a trucker, I think. Yeah, he is a trucker because he was going on the road and he just got back from a cruise. So that's what I know about Will the trucker. He just got back from a cruise with his family. And there's a lot of stuff going on with cruises here recently. They've had some storms out in the ocean, and they had one capsize. They had to evacuate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
You ever been on a cruise?
Nope.
What have you been doing this week? What's your visor? What's your visor say?
It's your business.
Oh, it says it's your business?
It's your business.
What does that mean? What is that? Like, what does that mean?
I have no idea, man.
Why'd you get in that voice right there?
I don't have any idea. That's my go-to voice. What?
Where'd you get that visor from?
Where'd you get it from? Yeah.
More than likely a garage sale or a thrift store.
You could say that's none of your business,
It's not-
except
it's
that
none of
you've
It's your
none of
business.
Your business.
you've screwed that up now because
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
plainly stated it is her business.
It looks like you found a pair of like gym shorts under the bleachers and decided to make a visor with it. That's what it looks like.
I don't know how to respond because I don't know anything about gym shorts.
No?
They had terry cloth gym shorts when I was a kid.
What
so-
is a terry cloth?
It's very soft. Girls looked really good in them. I remember that from the 80s.
I know what you're talking about.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Soft, spongy.
Yep.
Yep. Well,
They look like a towel.
I just remember going.
Yeah, they look like a towel.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, Mark's been bringing up some kind of edgy stuff lately because I remember I skipped to the end and I listened. Me and you were talking about nipple tassels at the end of the show last week.
How did I miss something like that?
You missed the nipple tassel conversation. We even were doing the motions and everything. I accused Mark of wearing nipple tassels underneath his shirt.
If you stare at him long enough, Larry, now listen to the sound of my voice.
Do you remember Madonna with the
sleepy.
cones? Oh no, that was a Saturday Night Live skit where they did Madonna with the cones that spinned around and the like people, the audience got hypnotized by it. You don't remember that? That's old. That was older, like in the 90s.
I didn't watch Saturday Night Live.
Oh, you didn't like Saturday Night Live. You see, you've always been a stick in the mud then for your whole life.
Pretty much.
Except
I watch wrestling.
I watched Pure Flix in the 80s. Man.
Honey, I do not apologize for my lifestyle anymore.
Oh,
I wouldn't. I'm just giving you heck about
No,
it.
I mean,
ask not for whom
All
the
bar.
bar tolls.
you didn't put it on Do Not Disturb, did you? Or me.
Okay.
There's
know.
not light at the end of the tunnel. It's a train.
I don't blame you for your lifestyle either. I wish I could be more like that. Well, I probably will be someday, but I wish I could be that way now. But I just joke with you a lot about it.
Oh, I know. But
I don't have anything else to joke with you about, bro. I don't have anything. You don't give me anything to joke with you about, so I have to joke about the Pure Flix and stuff like that. I guess we really don't. Well, like honestly, at first, whenever I'm really into the WWE right now, and honestly, at first, I was like, "There's nothing wrong with this. Like this is fine," you know. But then here, the last couple of weeks, they have these characters that are like
Voodoo princess
and witches, yeah, where I'm like, uh-oh.
Dang
I'm
it.
like, this is
Why do you
probably...
gotta screw up just good? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the modern day equivalent of the Three Stooges. Why do they gotta mess with that?
it's really not.
Oh, did something happen with that?
Oh, it really is.
I've watched wrestling a long time. But remember Glow?
I can't.
What's Glow?
I can't go here with you guys.
What's Glow?
You don't remember Glow? The girls at Glow?
No.
It was all very scantily clad female wrestlers.
So don't Google it. Oh,
no,
don't
no,
Google
no,
it.
no,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
No, I mean it was on TV.
My earliest memory of female wrestling would have been China. I'm sure you know who that was.
Oh yeah,
I remember China.
Man, we just watched. Darcia had never seen her. We just watched the whole history of China.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had never known her before wrestling. I'd never seen any of those pictures at all. And I was like, whoa.
She was pretty. She had her moments.
Okay.
You don't think so? Not your type?
Not my type.
Well, so when I was younger, I didn't think she was pretty, but now I look at videos of her back then. I'm like, because I thought she was like manly, and
I thought maybe she. I mean, this is my own thought process. I really, honestly thought that she had steroid out.
Well, she probably testosterone
and I thought
injections
because
bulk up.
typically when you do the test. Typically, when you do the steroids, there's a look to people who do the steroids in their face. Okay, I mean,
jawline stuff.
yeah,
like, yep.
And I thought that about her. I saw pictures of her as a kid. She looked like that as a kid.
Really?
I mean, not the muscles.
But
She did fall into the love. She fell in love with building her body.
Yeah.
So all that was true, natural stuff until she got hooked in with the wrestling. But I was really surprised that her face actually never changed, and her voice never changed.
So she always had a deep voice.
No, she didn't have a deep voice. She had a real kind of a Mike Tyson type voice. Didn't match the body.
Yeah.
And you were like, but even her sister was not as buff as she was.
I guess a lot of people had a problem like I guess she wasn't easy to get along with. That's the way I understand.
No, they said that she was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, if you watch the video thing, people knew her persona. They did not know her personality. When they met and got to know her personality, she was a sweetheart.
What was his name? Chris Jericho. I was watching an interview with him, and he said he didn't like her. Chris Jericho didn't like her.
Because he got beat by her.
Yeah.
Because she slammed him.
Oh, because he did wrestle Chris Jericho, yeah.
Before women got really involved, they had the women class, they had the men class. That was no big deal. I mean, y'all probably don't remember Medusa, but she was like from the 60s and black and white stuff. Okay, she was not an attractive woman in the least bit. She was an older woman that just was mean. So the women stayed on the women and the men stayed on the men. That was it. And but China,
Jericho,
made that change.
Yeah.
And when
That's
she
what
could
he was
give
talking
as much,
about.
when she could give as much as the men, there were some things that the men were like, oh, well, we're not used to this. We're not ready for this yet.
Maybe that's what it was, because I know they asked him a question about wrestling her, and he said that, well, everybody thought China was good. Everybody thought China was good, but she wasn't. And it maybe his ego was hurt a little bit because she was good.
Well, he's known for his ego, but I don't know him personally. We have to remember every one of these guys have a persona.
Yep.
Versus who they actually are.
Yep.
And you know what? And that's a good segue. I honestly feel that a lot of preachers have a persona. A lot of praise leaders have a persona.
Yep.
Not who they actually are.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that I have found out about Discovery is that their persona is who they are.
I told you that once before, you remember? I told you, like, I had grown up to where I have gotten to know a lot of church leaders in the past, and you take a little time to get to know them, and they're always different than what you've heard for maybe even years on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you took me the first time I'd ever met with Pastor Kevin in private, that's the same guy, man.
Same guy, yeah.
Same guy as he's on the podium, and that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Same way with Joseph.
Really?
Yeah. Trevor, he preached the other day. Trevor, oh my goodness. I mean, this is what ignites me about Discovery Church, is because you get the same on stage as off stage.
Yeah.
Every one of these guys.
Real. That's what's cool about us, is like people get to know us, who we literally are. There's nothing different about me and Larry's conversations in private. There's nothing different about our conversation. We probably bicker more on here than what we do in real life. Our phone calls are like, love you, bud. Everything going okay? Yep. Good.
Yeah,
all right.
true.
Cool.
True.
Yeah. And then we probably bicker more on here than we do on there, but this is real. This is real.
Mark and I, when we first met, Danny was missing that night on the men's Bible study the first time Mark came, and I'm like, yeah, come in. And man, Mark and I think carried a whole hour conversation
Right.
in front of 5 people
Yeah.
because they
We
didn't
formed all
engage.
right. We formed all kinds of resentments that evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you ain't going to talk, then just sit and
Yeah,
listen because
yeah.
I will.
Mark and I will talk.
And then if you just bring me it, we could break it
Well,
down
we
into
could.
33,
Oh, my
33
goodness,
minutes
yeah.
apiece.
Oh,
Yeah.
we could. Yeah,
It wouldn't be good to bring me along.
we don't have a lot of pauses when the 3 of us get together.
I'm working hard enough not to interrupt you guys right now, because I'm like, I want to talk so bad. I
It's
probably talk in my sleep, guys.
It's a real struggle sometimes not to make it the Mark show or the Larry show or the
Yep.
Zach show. I see, and I'm talking about away from here. That's exactly what it is. It's the Zach and Larry show here, but outside, it's hard when it takes all kinds, and everybody has a different spiritual gift. And I think talking, communication is one of the ones that is all of our gifts.
Yeah.
In different varieties, but
Yeah.
then again, how do you temper that if you're dealing with some people that are more quiet and reserved, but you want to draw them out? Then I got to be like,
Yeah, dude. Being the greeter, and I said that. I didn't want to say it that way, the greeter, but I'm a greeter here at the church, and my main focus is the new people.
All right.
But my memory doesn't help me. Because I've walked up to people and go, hey, man, is this the first time I met you?
No, it's
I've
the
been
fifth
here 10
time.
years.
I bet you've gotten better at it, though.
A little bit.
That's what I was going to say to what you
But
said.
we've had so many new people lately. And I have talked to them and realized, how did you get by me the last 2 weeks without me being able to see you?
It's impossible, yeah.
Yeah, because,
such a
I
big
mean,
church.
Well, we're not that big.
Well, big enough to where I don't think you should set an expectation for you to just know everyone the first time they come in,
Recognize the new people and make them welcome. I
Yeah.
mean, that is my main focus.
That's important.
Well, I don't think it's out of question for you
But I do
because you've
get
been
caught
here.
up. I do get caught up with a lot of people. You've seen me, there are certain people
Yeah.
in my deal, and I hate to say it this way, but if I know you, Zach, like I know you, you're also a greeter. I'm going to spend 2 minutes in conversation with you. I'm out of there. That's typically what I try to do. I don't try to be rude about it, but you're not my focus.
Yeah, new people, yeah.
You
Yeah.
are welcome here.
We're-
You
we're
already
gonna
know
talk
you're
later.
welcome here.
We're
Yeah.
going to talk later, yeah.
But I also try to do that with the people that, ambassadors I talk to on Wednesday. So when I'm talking to them on other days, I try not to spend as much time, but I still want to make them feel just as welcome. When we have friends that know what my purpose is, then they don't engage me. It's a quick handshake, love you, and then because we know that we'll have time to talk.
I don't
later.
even approach you. Like, I just let you approach me because it's like I know I'll talk to you later. Like, we talk all the time outside of church, and I know you got a job to do here. So,
Well, I hate to say the definition of a social butterfly, but I have noticed here lately that I didn't think I was that way.
Oh, you're
But
a
then-
social butterfly.
But I look at me and I'm flutter over here, land for a second, and then I'm gone. And I was
you're
like,
the literal
wait a
definition
minute.
of a social butterfly. Like,
Yeah,
you're
I know. I accept it.
I'll say you're a social bald eagle, Larry.
super aggressive.
Well, I'm trying to butch it up for you a little bit here, man.
No, he's a
social butterfly.
He's one of those golden eagles, the golden eagles that take the goats and fly them off the cliff and drop them,
drop them. Exactly.
just so they can eat them at the bottom. There you go, dude. You got a cool bird.
I have a lot of fun.
We're not right.
I have a lot of fun making people feel welcome. And what makes me feel even more great about it is when I see them the second time.
Yeah.
And I see them the third time. And then they're looking for you to make them, to recognize them when they walk in.
Yeah.
And
Well, because like
at
us,
a certain point, they mature enough. And then I've engaged them with enough people, and I try to introduce them to new people that'll, ignite that feeling of camaraderie.
You've done that
And
with
then,
my
boom.
stepdaughter and her boyfriend.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. Like when we first walked into church here, we didn't know a single person in there. Nobody. No one. Like, literally no one. Okay, and
Are
we're
we
back.
back?
We're back. I'll probably have to edit all that out, but
Please.
it's okay. Yeah, but it's fine. Angela dropped the camera, and then we gave her some lashings, and we're back. And then we had to give Jonah some lashings too. So
Everyone was flogged.
yeah, everyone was flogged.
And then we gave her the vinegar to drink.
I flogged. What? I love. Hey, ask her. Sometimes I drink vinegar.
I'll drink
straight.
a shot of good vinegar. I like
I
that.
love vinegar,
I
dude.
like balsamic vinegar, but I can't drink
It's good for
vinegar
you.
by
Mm-hmm.
itself. I can't.
And we're not talking about pickle juice.
Yeah, pickle juice.
One
Right.
time,
No, that's
No,
different
like
than just
straight
vinegar.
one
Yeah,
time I took a shot of vinegar so fast, apple cider vinegar, it burnt
Yeah.
my throat.
I've done that.
It burnt my
That's
throat.
like doing a little Everclear back in the day.
Maybe that's why I do it every now and then. I need that little. I need that little kick, man. I'm not getting
Lord,
drunk.
forgive us for that one there.
I need that little pow. Let's go.
We don't live like that anymore.
Hear a little Back in Black playing in the background.
This is Larry. Take your breath. I'm getting
It's just vinegar. Larry's reading the Bible, shaking. He's like, no, I need new friends. I have friends that chuck vinegar.
And fantasize about Everclear. Oh, my goodness.
You know, you could put that in your car too. Gas. Expensive gas, though, huh? That'd be expensive gas.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
I have used it to prime the motor when I ran out of gas.
Mm.
Oh, really? On like a mower or something?
No, my car
Oh, really?
on the side of the road.
So
Wow.
That's all I had. Huh?
So in Kansas City, Fog Hat played at this bar, and I snuck some Everclear in with me, and I was blowing huge plumes of fire.
Oh, from your
yeah,
mouth?
from my mouth. Yeah, I got kicked out.
Fog Hat. What they sing?
You don't know what Fog
No, I think I do. I think I do.
Slow ride.
Yeah. Make it easy.
Right.
Slow ride. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah. You're not having fun today, Larry?
Just saying.
Yeah.
spit that water out.
You know, I know there's some unbelievers here listening going,
Yeah.
I've been there.
Now, I completely
live there
understand.
don't live there anymore. Praise God.
There it is.
Right.
Thank God I don't live there anymore.
Amen. Frustration and pain.
Yeah.
That's why somebody on one of my videos today, or one of our videos, I should say, one of our clips, what you were talking about. You were talking about have people thinking having to get clean before they come to God, and that a lot of people that are actively on drugs and alcohol and stuff like that.
You're right.
They're like, how do I get clean? I've been trying to go to God so I can get clean. And I was like, and it made me spur back to that memory, because there was a point of like a year where I wanted to quit drinking bad and couldn't. Like a year. Like I would literally like throw away a half a pack of cigarettes every day and be like, it's done. Today's the day.
Right.
I'm quitting. And then I'd buy another pack of cigarettes that night and a 12 pack of alcohol or whatever. And then the next morning I'd wake up and I'd be like, today's the day, for like a year, dude.
Right.
And that's what I kind of told them in the comment section of that video. They're like, I want to get clean so bad and stuff like that. And I told them, I said, if it wasn't for that year struggle, that fight I had for a year, I probably would have already been back drinking again. Because whenever I think about drinking again, I think back to that year, that 365
The
days.
powerlessness of it.
Yeah. I think back to that and go, why would I ever do that even one more time to put myself potentially, could I drink every now and then and be responsible about it? Maybe. But that year was stressful enough for me that I don't want to find out. I have no interest in finding out.
I've often referred to our old lifestyle as the lion's den. You know, God delivered us from the lion's den.
Amen.
I don't go back, lean over the cave, and go, "Hey, lions, how you doing?" I don't do that. When
Yeah.
I run into people that
That's why I don't hang out at bars. Yep.
that I knew from the old life, I greet them and Hey man, where you been? Well, you know, I changed my life. I go to church now. I'm involved in the church. I'd love for you to come visit. No, what?
Church.
What? Church?
Do they drink there?
Yeah, and it's like we are to remember. We are to remember what God got us through. And when I look back on that, it's not that it was all fun and games. I remember the swamp. I remember the muck and the mud that God had to drag me through. I remember holding on to the roots, trying to, no, I don't want to go.
I'm not going to have any fun.
Yeah. What am I going to do on Friday night? Right.
I'm still kind of like that. Well, not really.
In the process, it's just like the refiner's fire. I'm sure, if gold had feelings, it wouldn't like it.
Right.
But what happens afterward, it becomes pure gold.
Yep.
Because all the impurities are burned off. So through that process, it is painful, difficult, not a lot of fun.
I went back to a bar twice since I've gotten sober, and it's because I have a couple friends that like to watch UFC, and we like to go out and watch every now and then. So sometimes I'll go to the bar with them and watch UFC, and I have no worry about drinking again. And I made an observation that was kind of crazy when I've been there the last couple times, was that you don't realize it, but bar stools are extremely uncomfortable. But when you're
numb,
3 sheets to the wind,
you don't feel a thing.
You don't feel a thing. But I remember sitting there for 3 or 4 hours watching those fights, going, "Good grief, I cannot wait to get off this, man." Right. And I remember back to my bar days, I'm like, I probably sat in a bar stool for 100 hours and never even thought about that. But when you're 3 sheets to the wind, you don't think about how uncomfortable they are.
I thought it was interesting how you were saying that people will say, basically, I want a relationship. I want to get rid of this addiction. I want to get rid of this sin before I have a relationship with God, because I think it's blocking me from God, or I feel unworthy. Mm-hmm. That's not biblical. We did.
That's literally Satan.
That's it. Who are you listening to? That's your own shame. That's Satan. That's how he works.
Yep.
Because biblically in the Bible, when Jesus healed and delivered and cast out demons, that was pre-relationship to him. Mm-hmm. Well, what about Mary Magdalene?
Now and go and sin no more.
Yeah. What about the prostitute in the church or the temple? Or
right.
Yeah.
So let me release you from your bondage. Then we develop a relationship. And, it doesn't mean you have to get sober to do it. You mean you start, I don't know. I had a point, and then it just went.
Well,
Satan wants you to die.
You don't have to be sober first to have a relationship with God.
And if you doubt that, ask Darcia.
Yeah,
ask me. Ask any 3 of us.
Here's what I could tell you Satan wants. Satan wants you to die. Satan wants you to die in your bondage, wishing you could get right with God.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what he wants to happen.
Yeah.
Because wishing to get right with God is not getting right with God. You can get right with God. You can get close to him, develop a relationship to him. And guess what? He's only going to make it easier for you to quit. He's dang sure not going to make it harder.
Oh, that's exactly right.
Or he may make it harder, but that harder will have a reason to it. Like for me, like I can't be delivered from things like you and Darcy. I can't be. I'll take straight up advantage of it. I know why he does it.
Darcia.
That's what I thought too. Every addiction that God has allowed me to overcome in my life has been pain and frustration, but he held my hand through the process. Mm-hmm. That was the relationship. I worked on a relationship with him first, then the deliverance came, but it wasn't deliverance. It was a walking out, purifying, like Larry had talked about. But then he delivered me from cigarettes.
Yeah.
So don't say that. Don't say never. Don't say never, man, because I think he gets us at levels.
I got a few things I'd like him to just throw in the trash and move on with for sure.
I do believe that it is a process, and I do believe that he lets us walk out, because without the walkout,
well, then we could claim it as under our power.
Yes. First off, we're bragging on what we can do. Secondly, with Darcia, we came to this church for probably a year and a half while she was still drinking, and it got worse.
Didn't you say she'd be in the bathroom sometimes drinking?
I I don't say that.
You don't want me to say
I
that?
say that
Okay.
there was people that came and told me that she smelled like alcohol.
I thought maybe she's told me that before, but maybe
And
she doesn't want me to say that publicly. I don't
That's
know.
going to have to be a Darcia thing.
Okay.
But,
Darcia, don't smack me.
The thing is that
She didn't have to be white as snow.
No, she wasn't.
Right. No, we brought them in dirty. I came in dirty.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And now if you meet Darcia now, you'll never smell alcohol on her again. I can tell you that.
Nope.
She's been delivered. She's sanctified and righteous. Good
You won't
standing
smell
with
cigarettes on her. You won't smell nothing on her. You'll
Yeah.
smell Jesus.
This is June. So she's been delivered from. Well, she was released from cigarettes 6 months ago.
nice.
It's been 6 months.
Good grief.
6 months, man.
God. That's awesome.
It's like great.
That's insane, man.
I mean, after a while, like mine's been so long, I don't even think about it.
Right.
But you got to stop and think about what God did for me, because I mean, I was like, Darcia was still smoking, I was still going to the bars.
All right.
What's the worst thing when you quit smoking?
Oh, yeah.
You're going,
Yeah.
right?
And how can you
every
drink
time you
without
smell
smoking?
one.
How can you drink without smoking?
That's my problem. Like, even if I could
couldn't.
handle drinking again, I don't think I could drink without smoking.
Yeah, they're
There's
interlinked.
people that can't drink a cup of coffee without
That's
smoking a
that's
cigarette, right?
And that's-
I couldn't drive
Right.
without
'cause-
smoking a cigarette,
Right.
or ride a motorcycle without smoking a cigarette.
Okay. We
You know,
we got to
I mean,
get to our
So
guest.
when God delivered me, He took all of those cravings away from me to where I could still be in that as a witness to it.
Praise God.
And if God gets you through something or delivers you from something and you're not sharing that testimony,
Yeah.
you're not walking in obedience to God.
Yep.
And
Gotta
you're not
share it.
giving Him the glory.
Right.
I agree. That's one thing I'll never do again is make that mistake of taking the credit.
Oh,
for
I'm not
something.
taking the credit for Jack Squad.
Okay, let's get to the
Too many
guest.
failures.
We're
take
at
credit for
30.
anything.
Well, Cordy, we're going to have to cut like 2 or 3 minutes out. So we're like 27 right now. So yeah, because all the floggings. Okay. All right.
Flatulence.
Yeah, the flatulence. No. That's happening undercover, whether you realize it or not. I bet everybody in here has got some UC flatulence. Okay.
Nope.
Anyway.
Nope.
All right,
I'll clear the room.
let's welcome Will the Trucker.
Will the Trucker.
This is 2 weeks in a row that we've had guests on that have radio voices,
Try to
dude.
use a different expletive, please.
You don't like crap.
No.
Good grief.
Wait, you saying about a radio voice?
Yeah, you sound like you have a radio voice, dude.
Well, for a very short period of time, I did actually work on the radio back in Phoenix in the summer of '97.
Really? You were a DJ?
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
No, I was like a half-wit sidekick filling in for somebody for, I don't know, a few weeks.
Nice.
Why did you choose half-wit?
Sounds like the story of my life.
Well, because the half-wit the half-wit portion of it was kind of like, it was the persona was, his name was Budman, and he's basically half the time act like he was high. And he was going through some stuff, and I just happened to be the right place at the right time. And hey, all you got to do is come in here for a little bit and, pretend to be him and blah, 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 and fill in for a little bit. And anyway, I think I did it maybe like 4 or 5 times over like a 3-week period. And like I said, summer of '97.
Oh, far out.
That's just pretty gnarly, dude.
Man. Whole lot of words in that.
97. Back
Okay.
in '97.
Okay, let me go around the room
Well,
real
the
quick.
funny thing was that.
No, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say the funny thing was that at that point I had never even smoked before, so
Oh my goodness.
that was a trip.
So you were playing a game.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go around the room real quick. I'm going to introduce everybody in here so you don't get blindsided by any voices. We got my executive producer Mark over here.
Hey, how's it going?
Got my lovely wife Angela,
Hello.
and then my lovely co-host Larry.
Nothing lovely about me. I need you to start
I've been trying
describing
to
me in
figure
a
out a
different
different
way.
word for you, dude. I'll just call you lovely. It's fine. Okay. And then me, I'm Zach. I'm the one with the TikTok channel, the young tan. Yeah, I look like a younger version of that guy from Wheel of Fortune. What's his name? Pat.
That's not tan. That's just sunburn.
Oh, well.
This is tan.
Oh. I'm gonna beat you because I'm gonna get in the tanning bed. Okay, but anyway, welcome to
which one of you guys is short brown hair guy?
Him.
me. That's me.
Shorter, and then the other taller fella, salt and pepper.
That's Larry.
I'm
Yeah.
the old dude. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well, I
then
didn't say old. I mean, it's relative.
and Mark pops up on clips every now and then. He's the producer. And then
Okay.
he's popular to the show. But if you don't watch
Yeah,
the
Zach's-
show,
I think I'm
Zach's
just.
the one-
I think I'm the whacked out sidekick. I don't really
Yeah.
think I'm the producer.
Yeah.
I think we just need to call me whacked out sidekick.
Well, I don't like the whacked out
you're
part.
here because of your microphone
Hey,
stuff.
yeah.
For sure.
Zach is the one trying to grow the beard, and Mark is the one that has one.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all,
Someday
dude.
when he grows up, it'll be okay.
I
It'll
don't
fill
try
in.
to grow a beard. I just forget to shave it every now and then, and I get some like patches on there. So
Okay, that's like
I just shave
3
it when
months.
I just shave it when my wife gives me the look.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
You know, she
Yeah.
just gives me that look like, and I know what it is because I've heard her. You know, it's like she used to say, "Hey, getting a little long, isn't it?" You know, now she just gives me the look,
Look,
and
right.
I put the voice in my head because I know what she's saying with the look.
Yeah, you've been
Well,
with her long enough.
you,
been
since
there.
you've watched us, you see that mine's manicured. I have the real short one.
He
but
doesn't care.
But my wife said
Yeah.
absolutely never go without the beard.
I think
Yeah.
you need to
And
grow
she's
it
never
out
seen
and
it.
You know,
braid it.
I like to have at least a bit of chin scruff. I don't do if I have facial hair, it's mustache and beard. Right? I don't do just the whole like just the beard thing or just the mustache thing.
Mm.
But I like to have some facial hair down on my chin at least, because then it defines the bottom of my face,
Right.
and I think I don't look as heavy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
I'm in agreement.
I
I don't know yours, but I'm in agreement with that over here. I'm pointing a finger at me. I'm trying to hide my chin.
Sure.
Yep. Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I was just on a cruise last week. And I took pictures. I took a selfie, and I'm not a big selfie person. You know, I'll take a picture like of my wife and I. That's a little different. But like, I'm never taking. I don't know that I've ever posted just a straight selfie, like on maybe one on like Facebook. You know, and I think it's actually my profile pic right now. But I took a selfie the other day next to the cruise ship, and it has this like the way the back of the ship is. It kind of has this like, I don't know, like this bulge at the bottom of it. And I'm looking at me with the bulge underneath my chin because I have less facial hair. And I'm like, dude, I got another chin. I look like the boat.
Will, how old are you?
43.
43. Okay.
You have to add that up. It took you a while to answer it.
No, I think there's a delay in Discord lately.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can
it-
tell there's a little
yeah.
delay in it. So, okay. So, Will, you're an atheist, right? Or do you consider yourself atheist, agnostic, or what do you consider yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I don't always get so technical by saying agnostic atheist, but that's truly what it is. I mean, to those in the know, I mean, who are familiar with the terminology, I'll use it. But if other people ask me, I just straight say atheist because, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to confuse anybody, and a lot of people have misconceptions, and that leads to other questions, and that kind of read the room in a way, you know?
Well, we've interviewed several people of different
Sure.
walks of faith, and we have heard an explanation of the agnostic atheist term before by
My brother.
Dan. And then also that former missionary that was on here, he described what that means. So just to give you a rundown, I don't know if you know anything about this show, but we don't debate here. That's not our mission. The goal of this show is essentially to essentially kind of hopefully bridge a gap between Christians and people that don't believe. I know that I'm sure you get it all the time you're going to hell. You better change your ways and stuff like that. We don't have any desire to act like that. And then we also were just kind of hoping that we can show love to one another and maybe coexist together. Does that make sense? Because that's definitely not the direction that it's going.
Absolutely. Right. You know, the one who reached out to me, the female who reached out, and I apologize for not remembering her name. She asked if I'd be interested in the show. And I said, yeah, as long as it's, not antagonistic and, I had a couple other things, but,
Yeah, I read
I said,
the message.
like,
Yeah.
like not a bait and switch. Yeah. And I mean, and that's like getting into a situation like this or in a environment like this, it doesn't do any good to be anything less than truthful. And, because I think that, you have good intentions, and as do I. And I don't always, I'll admit it. And, I do debate people online, but I'm not an academic. I'm more of not anymore anyway. I mean, I used to know all the things that I could spit fire with Bible verses, both sides, like pros and cons and things like that. I don't have the memory for that anymore, to be honest. That's why I'm a trucker.
Wait till you're my age.
But I find it to be much more productive and calming in a way to be able to discuss things in a mature fashion. Not making accusations, and there's you'll notice it in the way that people speak and where they avoid opportunities to like make digs. I mean, a little jabbing back and forth, haha, whatever is fun, all in good fun. But I've kind of taken it like my one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I got married was somebody says, never take advantage of an opportunity to bash your wife. So when other people are, ball and chain, oh, my old lady, this and that, and speaking badly of their wives, like I don't chime in. I don't even want to. I don't call my wife my old lady. I don't call her the ball and chain. I don't refer to her in negative terms. And when I'm talking about these kinds of things, like in a situation like this, we treat each other with dignity and respect. And I don't include some of the other potentially antagonistic terms, like, throwing in like, for example, I could say, well, that's just your belief instead of that's your stupid belief. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, that's just an example, but it's like I said, it's much more productive. There are a few people who I've met on TikTok and on Facebook and stuff who are really good at engaging and maintaining civil conversation to try to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And then I look, Christianity, whether we or I or whatever like it or not, isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And
it is shrinking though.
And it's like, how can we? Well, it's kind of interesting if you think of it, and it depends on how you think of it, like quantitative or qualitative, right? And I don't mean qualitative like good, I mean like power. So yeah, there may be a diminishing number of people who, who identify as Christian. I think I heard recently the largest or the fastest growing group of religious like identifiers are does not identify or does not believe or something like that, like the kind of like the question mark on the fence or just non-religious at all. And I think that a lot of that is like reactionary, like a lot of times people want to separate themselves from like the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world.
Yeah.
So while Christians may be diminishing in number, I think in some ways they're actually increasing in, I hate to say the word power, but for lack of a better term, power.
No,
influence.
I hear your point. It's kind of like moderates versus, you hear Republicans, and then there's the whole group moderates. So
yeah.
People just afraid to take the moniker, but they're still getting in the boat.
Sure. Yeah. And it's because, I mean, it does, the thing that I read did say like non-identifying, so that, I mean, that could be somebody like my early stages of, deconstruction. I deconstructed before it was even called deconstruction, but, I didn't identify with like the Baptist ministry that I was taught when I was a kid. So would I say I'm Baptist? Or like, well, no, I was still a Christian, but I didn't really identify as Baptist.
I
said
actually,
like, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't really.
Sorry,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have a bad delay. Sorry if it seems like I'm interrupting.
That's
I'm
okay.
not intended to. But I actually grew up Baptist too. And I dang near, whenever I started reading the Bible myself, whenever I was 20 years old, I dang near deconstructed myself. I came to this crossroads of where I started reading the Bible myself, and I was like, man, this is nothing like they described it in church. I was like, this is nothing like they taught me my whole life. And it frustrated me because I wasted like almost 2 decades of my life, on that teaching. And
that was one of the things that, that was one of the things that led.
Yeah, it was either, I had 2 choices. It was either deconstruct and just abandon it altogether, or I had to reconstruct my faith altogether to what I believe is the truth. You know what I mean? And so it was tough. It was tough for me.
I mean, those are when you get down to like I think it's really challenging for some people to kind of, in a way, like separate themselves. Like I was born and raised Baptist, right? And I believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I use her as an example just because she's fiery and I don't care for her. Like, man, a lot of people would want to separate themselves from that, but we don't have those good influences. Like one of the people who I used to love listening to, and I can't stand anymore. Everybody knows Billy Graham. Our church actually had an old video series from him from like way back in the day. I think even like the 50s, 60s, 70s kinds of things, where the image is still grainy, and we'd pop those in, and that was our sermon on a Sunday night or a Wednesday youth group kind of thing, and but the other guy was, I've seen him pop up again. I hadn't thought of him in probably 20 years, but remember Adrian Rogers?
Yes.
You do, Larry?
Yeah.
So
I've listened to Adrian Rogers. I love Billy Graham.
I'm literally sitting here Googling all these people that you're saying.
When you think of somebody like Billy Graham, you think of somebody who was like, that guy was awesome. I mean, he was an amazing preacher. He was fiery, but not like, he's not like too aggressive. Mm-hmm. But as far as I ever knew, he was a good person. He wasn't one of these like crazy wackos, like, and like when he died, I was like, even though I was an atheist at the time, when Billy Graham died, I was like, oh man, that sucks. Yeah. He was old. So it was like not shocking.
Who's that Christian that just died? That famous Christian that just died? That
Pat Robertson.
Yeah, because of what I do, my feed is full of atheists and people that don't believe in God, and they are celebrating this guy's death. Pat Robertson, was he a pretty bad representative of the Christian community?
He's the one that put PTL together.
I don't know what that is.
700 Club.
He was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the first that like politicized religion.
Yeah, he got really off into politics. I like what you're saying.
But I mean, I think that so some of those like those people that like, if you were a churchgoer in the 1970s and 1980s, you wanted to embrace Billy Graham. You wanted to identify with someone like him. You're like, man, look at him. He's such a good person.
Yes.
And this is the kind of like, you don't, as a Christian, you don't really necessarily want to like have a human as your like, man, I want to be like that guy someday. No, you want to be like Christ, right? But shy of Christ, I mean, look at this guy.
Yes, you wanted to emulate Billy Graham. Yes.
Yeah, now you have Creflo Dollar and the other guy who
you do, or I don't watch him.
No, I'm just saying.
Right.
Joel Osteen. He owns the church. I mean, for crying out loud, Right. There's and again, like some of these other people. It's like, who's the good one? Right.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you to define something? Just for me.
Okay. Well, hang. Let me just preface that by saying I don't like definitions because I think that they're misleading and they're backwards. But go ahead.
Okay. I'm
I
just
can clarify that if you want.
Okay,
but-
there you go. That would be good. Clarify what you meant by Joel Osteen owns the church.
Physically owns that. He owns that physical property.
Lakewood.
He
yeah.
owns that particular building. That's why I wanted it said, because I don't want anybody to misconstrue that you were thinking that Joel
Sure.
Osteen owns and runs all the church as the body
No,
of
no,
the
no.
church.
And I don't mean like, I don't
Okay.
mean slang like owns with a P. You know what I mean?
Okay,
It's
right.
just like
All right.
he, like, oh man, I owned that ski run. No, he doesn't own the church. I mean, he like literally, as far as I know, like owns that physical property
Yes.
and does profit from ticket sales.
Well, you asked
Yeah.
who the good one was, but he just the one that I can sit here and think of, like the media one who does media that I think was good, and he just died, was Dr. Charles Stanley. That guy was phenomenal. He really helped me learn how to be guided by the Holy Spirit. I mean, he was phenomenal. But to answer your question, now,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer that, man. One that I would trust and be
And
able to.
it seems like, right, one of you guys touched a minute ago on like moderate, and I mean, things in general, whether we like it or not, have moved to the left over the last, let's say, 80 years. So even moderate now
Right.
is a lot more liberal than it,
Right.
than it was. Even moderate Republicans are way more liberal than they were
Right.
50 years ago.
Absolutely. Even
Because
20 years
everything
ago.
has shifted.
Yeah. Even 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, you brought
But
up
I
you
think
brought up
that,
the living in the 60s and the 70s, and I was born in
Yeah.
the early 60s, and
Okay.
so I grew up in the church until I turned 18, and that was actually, as I guess 17. I got married 11 days after I turned 18, and that was in 1980.
I was a -5 in
Okay.
1980.
So
I can-
all of that was in the church.
I can remember a time where I was faced with the same thing you were talking about, Zach, being a Baptist, and you almost deconstructed
Yeah.
too. I really think that's in proportion to where I'm at now. That's why I go to non-denominational churches, because Seventh-day Adventists preach that I was raised up. You do not eat pork. You do not eat anything that's unclean meat from the Old Testament, because that's the law, right?
Yeah, and see, Baptists
Paul had
didn't have
this,
a problem with that.
right? Because Paul had this dream where God lowered a drapery down with all the unclean meats, and he said, "Take and eat." And Paul said, "I'm not putting any of that to my Peter. I'm not putting any of that unclean meat to my lips." And God said, "Do not call unclean what I've made clean." Well, he was talking about the Gentiles versus the Jews, but he was also talking about the law. He was also talking about unclean meats. And for me, that just blew everything that I had grown up in completely out of the water. Because I was like, guys,
Yeah,
you're not, this doesn't coincide with the Bible. This is some kind of man structure you're doing. I don't know who you're listening to, but you're not listening to God.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like picking and choosing what you want to
It
do.
almost drove me out.
So Will, in your case, what do you remember something specifically that drove you away, that you decided, I'm done, or was it like a process?
It was a long process. There wasn't any specific thing. Honestly, like I had a really good church childhood. My father wasn't religious, very private. We never talked about it. It was never an issue. It was just, hey, Dad didn't go to church with us. Mom took my brother and sister and I to church every Sunday. We went to what we called little church and big church. We went to little church, which was Sunday school, and then we went to big church, which was the service.
Same.
And if
That's
we didn't
the same
feel
exact thing for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, if we didn't feel like going to big church, then we had to go to volunteer in the nursery.
I would have loved
do
that. Big church
and there were,
stunk whenever I was a kid.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated big church.
Yeah. Well, it was boring.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you're 8 years old sitting there in an hour-long service, you're just like, how fast can I twiddle my thumbs today? It's
And
like,
my mom, if I was like wiggling around too much, she'd pinch the crap out of my leg. And I'd be like, oh man.
well, yeah. So I mean, there was our church had at one point, I think the highest it ever had was like 600 members.
Wow. That's quite
and
a few.
It was Southern Baptist, First Southern Baptist Church of Scottsdale, Arizona. It was right on Scottsdale Road, just north of all of the, like what they call Old Town Scottsdale, all the resorts, restaurants, bars, shops, you name it, right along that stretch. It'd be like if your church was down from Beale Street, kind of thing. So we had a living nativity every year, and that's what our church kind of became known for. Literally had goats and sheep and cows, and the wise men rode around the property on horses, and we had paper bag with sand and luminaries, like around the property, and it was a big eye-catching thing. And they built a manger up front, and we had people that played Mary and Joseph, and every once in a while we'd get lucky and have a baby that was appropriate age, and I can't tell you how I think I played every role that was male, in being involved in that.
So Will, it sounds like you have fond memories. I'm asking this because we have a little delay, so I'm going to compound the question here together. But
sure,
do you have kids? And if you do, you don't want them to be raised in that environment that you're in? And if no, then why?
So that's one of the first part answer. Yes, I do have a daughter. She has just turned 8 years old. She is quite the pickle, very inquisitive. She learns quickly, asks intelligent questions. She asks questions in a way that she shows that she understands certain concepts. She's really good at math. So I don't have a problem with the community aspect of it. The problem that I have is that I don't think that she needs that community from that venue. And I think that, she has a great camaraderie, and she has just as much friends as I did, and just as much positive influence from good people, with scouts. She is a scout. Her uncle is the scout master in town, or scout leader. I don't know the terminology because I'm not always there since I'm a trucker. But she's got a really good core group of friends that I don't want to say wholesome, but that again, for lack of a better term, like we're talking like good people here, and I don't feel like there's any need to introduce her. I don't think she needs the church in order to have positive community in her life.
Fair enough. So I asked the last atheist that came on this question, and I'm going to start asking every atheist or agnostic that comes on this question just because I'm curious. But if there was a petition going around to outlaw Christianity, would you sign it?
No.
Why?
Would I sign something that restricted their abilities and what they were allowed to do? Possibly.
Okay.
Well, it's tricky because when I talk to my daughter about religion, I talk about the facts, and I don't tell her what to believe. I just tell her what things are, in a way that I say, she said, well, who were the first people? And we're talking about like how everything started, right? She wants to know, like, well, how did we get here? Like, who were the first people? And I said, well, Christians believe it was Adam and Eve. I don't say, yes, it was Adam and Eve, right? And I said, really, we don't know unless you follow this kind of guideline in the Bible. It says it was Adam and Eve.
So you give her options. You don't just say evolution's true and we came from apes. You kind of give her
orange man bad.
You give her
part of the reason is because I'm not too studied in evolution, so I'd really not want to go down that path with her just yet, because that's a long multi-day conversation I'm just not ready to have yet.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I don't care about evolution.
Fair enough.
Right. So look at it this way: if God is real, things matter. If evolution is true, who cares? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make anything better. It doesn't make anything worse. Because if evolution is true, then it's always been true, and nothing changes.
Yeah. You sound.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't require any effort. It's not going to change my life anyway.
You sound happy. Are you at peace without God?
Absolutely. And so let me tie this into what you said before. I'm going to kind of close 3 questions that you've asked.
Okay.
So would I vote for to essentially ban Christianity? No, because I don't want to tell other people what they like. I would say that that's no better than somebody who's, hellfire and brimstone, interrupting the peace in front of the Alamo, preaching you're going to hell. Like, who am I to say they can't believe, right? Now, do I think that person should be allowed to go in? No, I mean, not necessarily, because you're disturbing the peace. It's something I've not thought of very much, to be honest. So that's just the shooting from the hip answer. But that's also because, like, I don't tell my daughter how to believe. I don't tell her what she needs to believe. I tell her, hey, later in life, if you have more questions and you want to figure out more stuff, then go ahead and do it.
So if your daughter came to you when she was like 12 or 13 and she was like, Dad, I think I believe in God, you would respect it?
Sure. But I would also ask, is this her own doing, or is this because someone influenced her?
Yeah.
In a way, like, do you believe because you feel it to be true, or do you believe because you want to be better friends with your friend who's Catholic who goes to church?
Fair enough. Yeah, you kind of.
And
would
she
make
is
her
surrounded by. Right.
Yeah, you're not going to let her. You're not going to let her blindly just walk into it. Yeah.
Would you believe that? Would you ask her the same thing if she got involved in witchcraft?
I've not been asked that one before. I would tell her that I would like to believe that I'd be open-minded to whatever that she felt like she was going to be believe or be involved in.
That's a tough one, though, huh?
Right, unless it was something that I felt was harmful. I do, in some regards, believe that Christianity is harmful, and to free-thinking adults like yourselves, it wouldn't necessarily make sense. I don't know that I could explain it to you, and I don't know that you might not. You probably wouldn't agree with me because of where you are advanced as far as like your Christian age, right?
Right.
So, like, if somebody who's 20 years old just became a Christian a year ago, they're a baby Christian.
Yeah.
Even though they're an adult.
Yes.
So I would say that I would probably. I would like to think that I would approach it the same way, regardless of what it is, unless it was something that is a known, like, major red flag. Yeah. I mean, like, oh man, this is
a pathogen.
I got to tread. I got to tread a little. I got to tread a little bit lightly here, but at some point, I just have to. Like, if she was saying that she wanted to go to a temple because one of her Mormon friends invited her, I would absolutely say no, but I would explain to her why. If she wanted to go to the Kingdom Hall down for Jehovah's Witnesses, I would say no, but then I would tell her why.
All right, I have a question
and
for
then
you.
I would tell her the final part of that, though, is that I would tell her, I'd say, because you specified 12 years old. Hey, kiddo, at 18, when you're an adult, you have to, you still feel that way. That's a completely different story.
Yeah.
Question you said?
Yeah. Where do you find your peace at? Where does your peace come from?
Her.
Your daughter?
Yeah. And my wife. I mean, honestly, like, doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I find peace in many things. I'm a model railroad enthusiast. I'm a photographer. Those little things, those passing moments where, you can meet somebody and understand their value as a human, just as you understand your own. I find peace in many things, but what grounds me, that true peace, is is my family.
I love it.
You know, I've been married for 20 years. I've known the woman since October 5th, 1999.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to
And
say,
she's an atheist too, but she's an atheist too, but she's a total introvert.
oh,
So
gotcha.
she would never come on a show like this.
Hey, Will, I had a question for you too.
Yeah, go ahead.
What you were saying, I identify with a lot of it, with problems with the construct of religions. You know, you've made the comment about different, denominations, you know, Mormons, Baptists,
Right.
what was the other one he mentioned?
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness. You know, I would add
Right.
the one I was raised into that, where we've seen things that start straying outside the Word of God,
Right.
and don't make sense.
Right.
So my
Right.
question for you
So-
is why if
Well,
you I get knocking down organized religion, but what about Christ? What about just the base teaching of that? Why divorce the two? Tell me about your reasoning there.
There's a couple of different things. So when I think of denominations, I think of like Lutheran versus Methodist versus Baptist.
Right.
You guys, they're all talking about the same principles. They just have different styles and aspects of it that influence them, right? That the parts of it that they kind of latch onto. When it comes to any of that stuff, I don't say that any one is better or worse than anything else. But when you start talking about some of the fringe things, I don't see Mormonism as a denomination. That's a completely different religion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll be polite and I'll let you guys roll, you know, like run this show. Of course, it's your show. But to me, like Mormonism is absolutely 100% a cult. And the reason why, and I have very in-depth knowledge of the cult, simply because I mentioned that my dad didn't go to church with us. My dad was never Mormon, but most of my dad's side of the family is.
Oh.
His sister married a Mormon and converted to Mormonism, and that whole side of the family. So there are more people from that aunt with her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren than there are with the entirety of my other family members combined.
Hey, can I clip that since I didn't say it? He did. Can I clip that and put it on social media since he said I didn't say it. I'm still a nice guy.
Email Will.
So I have no desire to like start a family fight.
No, I'm
Like,
kidding.
we
I'm
honestly
joking with
have
you,
a bit of
bro.
a truce.
I would never clip that. I would never clip that.
No, I mean you totally could, but just you know, but so yeah, more in-depth knowledge, and that's completely different. You know, I mean, to me, I mean, I make more similarities to Mormonism being more like Islam. Like, and I'm not saying their beliefs are the same, but I'm saying like it's a completely different. Like the only thing that remains the same are a couple of the main players.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I was challenged by a Mormon one time to listen to one of their general conference meetings. So I listened to the 2.5 hour, like morning service of the Saturday morning 2.5 hour morning service during the general conference. There was only one mention of an actual Bible verse.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even, the verse wasn't actually given. It was just the book. The name Moses was mentioned one time. Jesus was, I think I said Jesus and or God, was mentioned 6 times in, 6 times in context within the Bible. Everything else was the actual church itself, the structure of their beliefs,
and Joseph
Smith and Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
You know, and you guys familiar with Dan? You know, what's his last name? Dan. He's the super. I mean, he's a rip. He's the guy's sharp as a tack. Dan McClellan.
Yes, Dan McClellan. Yeah, Dan McClellan is a famous creator on TikTok. You guys might not know who he is,
right.
but he's very sharp tongued.
He's sharp as a tack. Mm-hmm. He's smart as all heck. But he also does a pretty darn good job of discrediting many things.
Yeah.
In the Bible.
Well,
right. He talks about he tries anyway, but I think he talks about how the Bible is that lacks a univocality that a lot of people insist exists.
He says there's no inherent value to it at all. Like he got me for I've been following him for a month, thinking this guy was some Christian leader.
So some of the things that he talks about are things that I was talking about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
About how there's a book of the book of Mark. I think it's anything after chapter 6. You can tell it's changed. It's different. It's like somebody wrote the first part of Mark and then somebody says, okay, I'm going to finish it, and it was different writing. Parts of Isaiah are different that don't match up right.
I haven't read Isaiah yet, but I've read Mark, and I don't remember thinking that.
Yeah, parts of Matthew, parts of actually all of the Gospels, to be honest. And I'm looking at it from I didn't have my Christian kind of decoder ring at the time. You know what I mean? I was literally reading it for analytically instead of a spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I can see that there are things that have this doesn't fit. This seems like it was added later, because not only does the theme change, the words change, but the sentence structure, the way that the pronouns are stated in different rhythms. I and he, or versus he and I, those, you have friends that are from different parts of the country. They always say me and John versus John and I. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you change things within the same book, it indicates not having the same single author.
Would you say?
And you can look at
Sorry.
But the last thing I'll say about this guy is that about Dan though, that's important for people to recognize is that when you're LDS, when you're Mormon, it's very easy to discredit the Bible.
Yeah.
Because you don't take it as your book. Your book is the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, right. Joseph Smith is your guy, yeah.
It's just like how Muslims find it so easy to discredit the Bible just because that's not their book.
Right.
So there's no reason for them. It's not like they're saying hey, I'm a Christian and you know what? Slavery endorsed in the Bible. Yes, we admit it. It's there. It sucks.
Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at with the Bible. And then I'll ask you a question, but here's where I'm at with the Bible. If the resurrection, if the story of everything else, okay, fine. Yeah, I do believe that the Bible is the perfect word of God. I believe it is the living, breathing word of God. But I'll say this, all that other stuff, okay, fine. But if the resurrection is true, then that's what makes Christianity the religion. If Christ rose from the dead, then that's what makes it all that much different, right? Because everybody else is dead.
That's one of the things that I have a problem with.
Well,
that's one of the things that I have a hard time with because I agree with what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. The thing is, it's a massive if
for you, right?
And that's how it remains to me.
Yeah,
because if you read the Bible and you read the earlier Hebrew texts and things that are not in the Bible, and you look at all of this stuff that was, there is a God, and dang, he's active, and he's hardening the Pharaoh's heart, or he's doing this or this, or he's instructing how to this or that. I mean, any number of influences that he either said by voice or by person or by, a hand touching the tablet on a mountain and scratching in the 10 Commandments. There's a lot of presence.
Well,
what happened?
Well, hold on.
Is he napping?
What if
that's?
Well, I mean, now since we've got the Holy Spirit,
the reason why
now that we have the Holy Spirit,
the reason why I say this, right? But the reason I say this is because there's a lot of things. We talk about like early religion and saying like, yes, they used God as a way to explain God of the gaps. We've all heard it, right? So they used God as a way to explain what they didn't know. And one of the things that, like I was talking to somebody, I was talking to a Muslim the other day, a couple weeks ago probably, talking about how, like, he showed a picture about how the two waters don't meet. You've seen this?
No.
Where it talks about like there's the lighter blue water and the darker blue water. Well, he says that it was the edge of the, like essentially the South Pacific and the Pacific, or like the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. Oh. And it's basically saying like, oh, the two waters meet, but they don't mix. Well, that's not true. But it says, because in the Quran, there is a passage that says, and I'm paraphrasing here, says something about the two waters will meet, but not. So if you're a Muslim and you see this, you're like, wow, it's a prophecy that has come true. No, it's called an estuary. And the actual image he used wasn't from the Pacific and Indian Oceans. It was from a waterway where there was glacial water, fresh water that comes into salt water. And anytime you have fresh water mixing with salt or meeting salt water, they don't mix at the surface. It takes longer for them to emulsify and mix together. So they appear as, you know, your clearer or your bluer ocean water, and then you're almost like opaque, like you guys know what oil looks like if you get water in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or, you know what I mean? That white milky, that's what happens. That mixes under the surface, but the top few feet don't mix so much. There's 1,200 some odd estuaries around the world. If you've ever been to the Florida Everglades, south end of the Florida Everglades is a massive estuary. It's nothing. It's to me, it's not prophetic.
Hey,
so when you talk about hey, here's this blah blah blah, and this proves that Islam is correct. I'm like, well, not really. We have a valid explanation for it. Well, to me, a prophecy would be something there's no other explanation.
Hey, I think it's interesting. I feel like I had a friend that was a philosophy major in college. I feel like I'm sitting at the bar with him and having a drink, because one thing that he was really good at was tearing down all other philosophies. It seems like that's what philosophy is nothing's real.
Yeah, in some ways.
Let's attack, not attack, but deconstruct. Okay, what's your line of reasoning? Okay, here it is. Okay, well, let me deconstruct that. And that's what philosophers do. So I'm kind of curious. I get what you don't believe in. What do you believe in? Do you believe that we were put here for a purpose? Do you believe that we have a creator? Were we seeded by aliens? Are we an accident? I'm just curious about what your beliefs and what your belief is and how you came to that from where you were.
Sure. So part of my deconstruction, if you will, I still feel weird using that term, is that I had this X amount of energy that went towards my religion, my belief, my faith, my heck, I got a tattoo. I got an ichthus on my back. There's this certain allotted amount of energy that was attributed to all of that. It didn't transfer.
All right.
I don't subscribe to any. If I go and talk to other Christians and debate, what I normally would do is essentially call out what I would consider their lies or their misconceptions. I don't espouse my own beliefs because I don't have any, and I don't think I need to. I would put it at most, what would make sense to me is that if we were created, and that's a massive if, again, if we were created, I don't believe that it's possible. I don't think it's even possible that it was the God of the Bible. Based on what the Bible says, I don't believe it's possible.
Have
and
you ever
the only
had
way
a
that I would
relationship
accept
with God?
that, I believe I did. Yes. I mean, I was in high school. I mean, like when I was a kid, absolutely. I was I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you probably get told a lot that you never did. I hear that a lot in the atheist community now, where people will say they're a former pastor or they
Right.
former Christian, and then a lot I hear that a lot. People say you were never a Christian or you were never saved, because if you were
Right.
saved, then you wouldn't be doing this. You know?
Well, and the reason why, and it kind of goes back to that identification part of it. They feel the need to diminish my previous relationship with Christ or with God, whatever you want to call it, to protect their own belief.
Yeah.
Because whether I was a real Christian or not, I don't think there's a term real Christian versus, fake Christian, unless somebody's knowingly lying. See, the word Christian is a funky term to me too, to be honest. Because in some ways I am very Christian, but I'm not a subscriber of the supernatural. The Trinity, I think, in my opinion, never, like, it's complete. In my opinion, is completely man-made. But
Gotcha.
that doesn't mean that Jesus didn't have good teachings.
Yeah.
We can actually follow the teachings of Jesus without actually giving two rips who it was from.
Gotcha. Okay,
treat it-
Will, I don't mean to cut in on you. So we're at one.
No, go ahead. I talk too much.
No,
Anyway,
you're
so-
good. We're at 120. What we do at the end of these shows is we go around the room and everybody says something. Here they all say their last thing to you or whatever, show you love or whatever, and then since you're the guest, you get the final closing saying. So, but we're just gonna go around the room and then you'll get to say the last thing. Okay, Mark's first.
Hey, Will, it was nice talking to you. Thanks for coming on. I kind of you helped me understand your the journey that you've been on, your beginning, middle. I'd say you're in your middle. I have a hope in my heart because of my faith and my experiences that you'll be led gently back into the arms of Jesus. But that's my hope for you. But it's very interesting, and I totally identify with some of the things that you've said and some of the reasons that you had. I had many of those reasons. For me, when I came to that point of choosing if I was going to deconstruct or not, like completely, I just couldn't get past the certainty in my soul that God became man, came here and died for my sins. I just could not let that go. And luckily that carried me through, some pretty tumultuous times in my life and brought me back out on the other side into his arms. And so, as you will, my friend, and good luck in your photography. That's awesome.
Okay, Larry.
How long have you been a trucker?
Just shy of 3 years.
Just shy of 3 years. Okay. So you basically started driving about the same time I did. I started driving about 40 as well. I no longer drive. Do you do OTR or local?
East of the Mississippi are my roads. So mostly OTR, but not afraid to do the short runs that help out the company.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I did a stint running up into Canada for a while when I ran GM parts. There was a lot of hassle coming
I do a lot
across.
of
Turning and burning, baby.
Yeah. I don't miss it. I ended up having back surgery, and I got out of the truck, did trash business for a long time, so I was local. But I just didn't.
Well, that's what I'm looking to go local.
The trash business,
Eventually.
I'll tell you, they always looking for people in the trash business. CDL helps. It takes getting used to, but at least it's you're home with your wife and kid every day. That's the good part about it. I have a question or an observation. I'm trying to figure out how to word it correctly. But
I'll just preface it for you by saying, like, you're not going to offend me. I'm a grown ass man, so don't be too delicate. Don't feel that you need to be too delicate.
So how grown are you?
So how big a boy are you?
How big a boy are you?
Big enough for an ass whooping. Sorry, I just
Just the ass part.
beep that.
Hey, if he's a truck driver, he's got to know that guy.
Right.
Roy D.
Right.
Mercer.
I got a I got the chins, you know.
We're doing another Roy D. Mercer reference.
Yeah, I love that guy. No, the three states of water, okay, is ice is solid, liquid is water, and steam is still water, correct?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Solid, liquid, gas. Yep.
Think about that when you think about the Trinity.
I have. It doesn't help me.
Okay. I'm not here to convince you anything otherwise.
No, I know. And this is one of the things that when I was going through this process, when it started when I was in high school, just kind of I set out to prove the Bible true and really so I could be a good soldier for Jesus and all this. And when I set out to do that, I failed. So I had a good mentor. The pastor of my church gave me plenty of good resources. I read the Ragamuffin Gospel. It was a great book. And I had a hard time with I think if I'm being honest with myself, I believe that, that Jesus was real, died on the cross for our sins. But I think I always had a hard time wrapping my mind around this concept of the Trinity. To me, when I look at the nuts and bolts of it, it doesn't make sense. It shouldn't even be a thing.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
But if God doesn't exist, how did we come to be? Is one of the biggest things that I can't. My daughter is an atheist. My brother is an agnostic.
Well, I don't ask myself those questions. Again, I said that energy that I had as a Christian didn't transfer. I don't know where we came from, and I don't think it doesn't matter to me. Ancient aliens, if they were the ones that made us, they're obviously not doing much to present themselves now, so what do we care? If the poles switched every 12,500 years and we're the sixth great civilization to be on the planet, so what?
Wow, that's a new one I haven't heard before.
Oh, the pole
it's gaining traction now.
No,
it's completely ridiculous.
But when
it's wild.
Being a not a mechanic, but I'm mechanically inclined enough that when I deconstruct a car by taking it completely apart, it becomes parts. It doesn't become a car anymore, right?
Right. You're touching on the philosophical boat.
So by deconstructing and pulling apart everything, trying to make it each individual work as a part of the car, that's not a car, that's a part. When you put it all together is when it becomes an automobile. So when you construct it, it becomes an automobile. Right?
Right.
But each individual part doesn't necessarily make it a car, does it?
Are you talking about the body of Christ? I'm talking about
the
You're talking about the related to the Trinity?
Anything that we completely take apart.
Yeah.
No longer becomes what it is because the individual pieces that we try to make an understanding of.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing. It's that's one of the things that I always had a problem with. Once I deconstructed, it's how do I put things back together and how do I do it the right way?
And you just landed on, I don't have to.
Yeah. I feel much more at peace than I ever did, except for a very short period of time. I mean, I was music ministry, we were in a band. Actually, I got to tell you, we were in a band, had the best name for a Christian band. We felt like it was awesome name. It's called Crosswalk.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that does sound good.
Wow, I love it. You ought to trademark that before this comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, this is 25 years ago, man.
Well, to me, I always read a verse. All right, and I actually have two of them for you. I have Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. Hebrews 11 is actually the Hall of Fame of Faith. So it's talking about all the ones that walk by faith. And faith is believing in something that I can't see. That's Takes a lot. My daughter, I mentioned, is an atheist. One of my daughters is an atheist, or claims to be an atheist. And I told her one time, it takes a lot more faith. To me, it takes a lot more faith to believe that nothing created this versus believing that a God creates it. And I believe that I will go to, well, you know, I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to go to heaven when I die because I believe in Christ died for my sins and has washed me clean. So I get, because of my belief in God, I get to go to heaven.
I just got the car part thing just now.
It took you that long.
Yeah, I got it.
Son,
We'll
we
talk
really
about
had
it
to work
afterward.
about that. You know.
I have a slow brain. I've been trying to tell you I'm not very smart.
Okay.
Hey, there's no need for speed, man.
Yeah. Well,
I am a master of slow, honestly. The slowest eater.
you got one more verse?
I don't drive the.
You know,
Yeah, you said 2 verses.
yeah. You
He only reads one every week. You get 2. You must be special, Will the Trucker.
well, I come.
Oh, one guy got none, so you're getting
Yeah.
2, dude. Hey, you're getting the other guy's verse, bro.
Right.
Sounds like a
I'm not. I feel like that I kind of got this one pointed out to me a little bit. All right, and it's Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. I lived the trucker life. I mean, you know, I lived. I wasn't a Christian all my life, but I never once doubted that God existed. So for me, it's a very hard thought process for me to even consider where my brother, who was raised the same way I was, came up with his agnostic belief. And we actually interviewed him, and I had never really spoken to him about it, but I had talked to my daughter. And where it comes up for me, the hardest part of it is knowing that if she continues in my thought process, if I die, when I die, I go to heaven. When she dies, she's just going to be there in the ground, dead, and there is no afterlife. That's her thought process. I can't fathom that this is all that we have.
You've never doubted that God doesn't exist?
I never once
Never
doubted.
once?
Never once doubted.
We look at things differently.
You haven't? You haven't?
we look
Have
at
you
things
ever doubted
differently,
that
and
God existed? Mark?
sure I have. Yeah, I've doubted.
That's crazy.
See,
See, that's what's crazy is like, that's why I'm literally sitting here thinking that everyone on the planet has at least doubted whether God exists or not. But Larry's over here, and I believe you. That's what I'm saying. But
I know a few people that
Sure.
never doubted.
there's just different people.
It
with-
just doesn't
out
make
there.
sense to
Right.
me. It does not
Well,
make
I mean, you
sense
gotta think
to
of it
my
like-
mind.
That's really cool.
See, that's one of the things that I had to overcome in a way. We talk about, when you talk about deconstructing, there's a whole lot more to deconstruction than a lot of people realize. When I say I don't believe in God, I don't stop there. My daughter was worried because she knows that I have a dangerous job, and she's worried that nothing's going to save me when I die because I don't believe in God. And I told her, I said, the difference is that I don't worry about any of that stuff, because when I don't have a belief in God, I don't believe the whole book. Sure, there's locations and things that have happened, whatever, there's some of it. But I don't think faith is real. I don't think free will is a thing. I don't believe in salvation or souls or sin. I don't believe in any of it. So I take it and I threw it all in the trash.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that to sound insulting.
Disrespectful.
So
Yeah, I get
apologize.
what you're saying. Like, you threw it out of your
But what
own brain is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's to me, one of the things that I found during my deconstruction was that these are all religious constructs. well, if I don't believe in God, then what's the point in worrying about any of it?
Well, I
Well,
do
you
agree
can't.
with
To
you
me,
on that. I do agree with you on
To
that
me, there's
statement.
You
to
can't.
me there's nothing there. There's nothing there for me. Like
Yeah.
when I think about a belief or anything like that, I got zilch. It's like I
Okay.
have zero concern.
I'm
And
gonna
I'll just
say-
say this. The last thing I'll say is
Okay.
I'm not afraid of nothingness.
Yeah.
If-
Well,
I don't want to be. I was never so heavenly focused that I was no earthly good.
yeah. Okay, I'm going to say my thing, and then I'll give you the floor for a few minutes here, Will.
Sure.
So, I just have a couple things. The first thing I want to say is that I'm not concerned about where we came from either at all. I don't ever think about that. But one thing that I do take very seriously is where we're going. That's one thing I think everyone should take seriously. And I think we do have to take that seriously. I mean, you probably planned that cruise for quite a while. You probably plan vacations. I plan vacations. We all plan all these things. And I think we put very little thought in what we do for eternity. But I think you have, though. I think you've put a lot of thought into it, and you just came to this conclusion like, hey, I'm done. I'm not thinking about this anymore. Which, yeah, and I understand if I ever came to your thought process, you would have to throw it all in the trash in order for it. But I think what I believe in, what I hold on to, even Paul from the Bible said this, that if you can disprove the resurrection, if the resurrection isn't true, then Christianity's dead. Christianity's nothing without the resurrection. But in my opinion, that's what changes everything. And the reason why I believe it is because the apostles that walked with Jesus literally testified and went off and died because they claimed to see him risen from the dead. And that's what makes me go, huh? So these guys are literally went to their deaths. Like there are probably not a whole lot of people that I would die for right now, like walking around, but these guys died for this guy that just called them off of a boat. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, the resurrection is what convinces me. And then, but yeah, and then also the thought of what happens in the future, because eternity is scary. And I don't continue to serve out of fear, but I think the fear is what started it. And I know a lot of agnostic atheists, they tell me that's not healthy, and I understand that, but the Bible does say the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So I think that's what began it for me. So, but anyway, bro, thanks for coming on, dude. And I think you should really look into radio. You got a really clean voice.
Yeah.
And then thank you for coming on, and maybe we'll have you on again in the future. But yeah, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you all for having me. This was actually pretty cool. It's nice to have a conversation that's guided towards understanding instead of convincing.
Yeah, yeah. Of course.
Even with the kind of the final word, that with the Bible verses and whatnot. I've heard them. I've heard many Bible verses, of course, over the years, and feel like each have their own, what people get from them. So there's value in that. I think that when people share a verse in that manner, I feel like that's they're sharing it for the right reason. Or at least from their position, the right reason. I don't feel attacked. For anyone who is invited on the show, if you happen to hear my voice, then know that there's been no frustration on my part during this, and it's nice to be able to, again, just have a conversation, so there is some common ground. One of the things that I think is really important is one of the things that you guys are doing is how can we coexist? And it's important for non-believers and for atheists, agnostic atheists, and anybody who's on, not necessarily the side of the Christians. It's important for them to see this or hear it, because then they would understand that not everybody is out there saying like, oh, you're going to go to hell, because you guys with your beliefs, you very easily could have told me that today. and I understand that you could have said that, but you didn't. And there's no, there's
I'm
no
sorry, I got one
fear-mongering
more
coming
question.
from your part of it.
I got one
Sure.
more question. I'm sorry, but
you're okay.
I just want to know this from your perspective, because I haven't heard this before. But whenever a Christian tells you that you're going to hell, what does that do to you internally? Like, how does that make you feel? What does your thought process go into when a Christian tells you that?
Amazingly enough, you broke up for the first time for the conversation. Could you repeat the question?
Okay, so when a Christian tells you that you're going to hell, they warn you about hell. In their opinion, out of love, they're warning you about hell. What does that? How does that make you feel? What's your thought process start? And then I'm not talking about your response, because we all see the response from people. But how does that make you feel internally when a Christian does that?
It makes me feel like they don't understand our position. And to me, it's nothing shy of antagonistic. And because they're not saying it, when you get to that point, they're not saying it for my benefit.
No.
Because that's not going to help anybody, I don't believe. I did hear one thing that I've kind of like latched onto in more recent months that helped kind of explain it. If you were to tell me, you're like, man, without Jesus, you're going to hell, I would say, I disagree. And I say, your belief is not my burden until you vote. And that's the long and short of it. Your beliefs don't impact my life outside the voting booth.
Right. Gotcha.
And if that's how we can keep Christianity, I'm not saying Christians can't vote. I mean, like, would I restrict that? I don't know. Now you're going to have me thinking, would I restrict this? Would I restrict that?
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that believes that your religion shouldn't matter in the politics. And I understand that. I mean, religion is allowed. Religious beliefs, obviously some people hold, religious position in a elected office. I think that more importantly would be like a civics exam to make sure that they understand how things function and what their job would be, more important than what their beliefs are religiously. Do they have the nuts and bolts, the knowledge to even do this instead of the popularity and the most money?
I asked those questions. I asked those questions because, like, even when I asked you today, I noticed I got a lump in my throat when I asked that. Like, I want to ask those questions that puts a lump in my throat, because these things are happening whether we like it or not. These things are happening whether we like it or not. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that information, but all I know is I need to hear the perspective. That way we can figure out what to do with it, later on.
The Great Commission.
I think Ricky Gervais has
people.
Right.
Ricky Gervais has made this more commonly known in recent years, but the whole thing is like, the simple answer is like what I said, your belief is not my burden until you vote. That's the simple response. A lot of times Christians don't like that, because a person who is telling me I'm going to hell is not somebody I care to have a conversation with.
Right.
The thing is, like, I say, how do you know that you're not going to hell? Well, because I believe in Jesus. Well, how do you know you got the right God? There's 35,000 or 40,000 or however many gods you can find. How do you know yours is right? You fell for a better story? No, and then we start to get into the argumentative. It doesn't end well. If it doesn't start well, it doesn't usually end well.
Well, that's why I tell people. Sorry, go ahead.
When I'm in a good, like, sound mind day, I don't let that affect me. I just give them that kind of canned answer, because it's not false. It's true. There are many things that I could say to them, but like I said, in a more antagonistic or response. But I'm shying away from a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? There's a difference between opinions and like fact.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying like Christianity is an opinion. I mean, there's factual parts of it and there's opinion parts of it. That's
what.
If I'm calling somebody out, for a lie, then I would say that, well, this is actually what it says, or then there's a definite like factual part of it. And if you think about it, like what I say is this: is like without the absolute certain 100%, 1000% proof of God's existence, any God, then the religion is defined as that, just a set of beliefs.
Yep. Okay, bro.
And
well,
so,
thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I think we're at.
Yeah.
I think my stopwatch stopped. I don't even know what we're at now. Does anybody?
I heard it. I was wondering what that was. Let me just say one last thing.
We're at 150. Go ahead, Will.
I just wanted to say one last little bit, and that's that. And it's for Christians out there, give the atheists and non-believers the same cushion or respect that you would ask of them.
Okay.
And what I mean is,
Good
like,
point.
we are loving, caring people. We don't enjoy sinning. You know, it's not that we do have morals. We're not lost. We do not feel like misled. We do not feel like we're lost or broken. It's our lack of belief is no different than your stance of belief. It's everybody deserves their own respect.
Yeah.
And you guys have demonstrated that. And I think, honestly, if there were more Christians out there like you guys are, like, we didn't even really get into a whole lot today, to be honest. But it's such a more valuable conversation when you can lean towards, have a conversation towards understanding instead of convincing.
Yep, I agree.
So much more effective.
I agree, man.
And there's even without having, even as an atheist, as a Christian, we both have the same basic ideals for what we want for our children. Even to forsake ourselves. We want our children to be happy, but you know what? I want them to be safe.
Yeah.
And I want them to be happy, and I want her to have an understanding.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more common ground than some people understand.
I know.
And coming from atheists too, so.
All right, brother.
But there is a culture that is beginning to form, online. There's a guy who slicks his hair back. His name's Bill. He's another one. There's the pastor, blanking on his name, Drake. There's a community of people that are beginning this understanding, this desire to coexist, and I think that that's going to be a much more effective, avenue to pursue.
Well,
I
notice we're going to have to, or we're going to get canned. That's what's going to happen. I noticed that literally, if we don't learn how to approach unbelievers differently, then we're going to get, nobody's going to listen to you. And it's either
Right.
you have that desire to be right and prove people wrong and dunk on people and get people to admire you, or is your goal to get people to know Christ? And if that's your goal, and I'm not trying to shove that part down your throat, but that is our ultimate goal, is to get people to know Christ. And if we're out here
Sure.
telling people they're going to hell, or they're lost, or that they're broken, and that they're sinners and all this other stuff, then
Yep. Just like that hellfire and brimstone preacher outside the Alamo in San Antonio.
yeah, it's not
What
going
a
to get
lot
us
of
anywhere.
Christians don't realize. A lot of Christians don't realize that they are doing more to push Christians and other people on the fence. They're doing more to push them away than atheists are.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%.
So,
but yeah, I appreciate
alrighty,
it. We're almost
gentlemen
at 2,
and
man.
ma'am, folks, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Will. I appreciate it. I'll be
Thanks.
hollering at you later.
Be safe
Will.
out there, brother.
Take it easy, man.
All right, bro.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Chat later. Bye.
Man, we have got to figure out that delay thing for next week. That was excruciating.
At first, I thought
He had a pause, yeah.
He talks like me.
Yeah, I thought, well, no,
Well,
you have
there
a
were-
natural pause to it, but
Yeah.
I could also see your face
No, it's
too.
Yeah, but
packet.
there were
It's a
times when he
packet
was
thing.
talking, okay,
and it would just cut.
and then
Yeah.
it brought right back up to where it was. It wasn't like we missed several words.
It was a delay
It
though.
It was
just-
a packet thing, yeah.
Like a packet loss. Yeah. Yeah. It was a delay.
Is
It
that
wasn't
a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that for sure that's what happened, but like with you do talk like that, to where you stop mid sentence and then you'll
Right.
pause. but I can see your face where you're contemplating
Right,
and you're
but
thinking.
I have been taught not to,
But that's why
I've been
whenever
taught to
you,
do that.
I think you got my hand signal where you kept trying it, and I was like, Mark, punch in there, dude, get in there, bud, because that guy, like, not him, but
he's a talker.
Well, yeah, he's a talker, but it wasn't that. It was the why he kept going like that.
The delay.
Because normally we're able to punch in and change the subject and stuff like that, but the delay was so bad like this, there was no spot for me to get in and stop it. Like,
by the time you tried to cut in, then it would.
He was already
delay
on to the
half a
next
second.
thing.
He was
Yeah.
already in the middle of making his next point.
yeah. And so that made that I would felt very lost in that interview. So for anybody that thought that was long and there was a delay in it. So we're going to figure that out by next week. Even if we have to do it back by the phone again, we'll do. Have you talked to Jess?
No, not lately.
You talked to Jess?
On the Bible study, yes.
Okay. When?
This morning.
Oh, she's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She's
Okay, yeah.
dealing with a lot of her immune system thing
gotcha.
with her thing that's going on. She's doing good, but she's going through a lot with that.
I just hadn't talked to her in a while. I just thought of it right now.
I don't want it to sound like I don't care or anything because I love Jess, but
Yeah.
I thought about that the other day too. I was like, I haven't been engaging as much as I.
Yeah, me either.
I haven't had time.
Yeah. Me either.
I sweat so much outside that I can't have my hearing aids on. So I
Yeah.
can't have my hearing aids on, and I can't get that headphone thing you got me.
You can't get it to work?
I can't. When I get it to work, it's great. But right now, I'm working with other people, so it's like I have to be able to focus
gotcha.
on what they're saying. So I haven't been able to listen to the Bible study. I haven't been able to listen to podcasts. I haven't been able to listen
Yeah.
to anything that I normally listen to. It's just me going.
Larry, I
with a
don't
weed
even
eater.
edit the show anymore. Like I literally will take I'll put it I have like a
Oh,
template
please edit this one. We have a lot of issues.
and I just preloaded it all in there, and then I go through to make sure there isn't any I remember the issues, and then I'll go script to those, and then I'll cut them out.
Yeah.
And then I just go and write down about 7 clip ideas, and then I move on with my life. I don't even listen to it at all. Like I hope everyone understands that if the quality of the show is going down, just because we have to make a real living. So, but we're at 2. We got to get off here. It's going to be too long. So, thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate it. We love you.
I still want to encourage you completely. We really, 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 we know that the time is short, and we know that our mission is truthful, and we know in our heart that God exists. No matter what is said in here, no matter how things go, I don't have a doubt in my heart, my mind, or my soul that God exists. And I just simply want to say, ask him to show himself to you.
Amen.
Ask him, because Jesus loves you, and so do I.
Okay. Thank you everybody for watching. We are out.
I'll take you home.
Thank you so much for listening to the Help My Unbelief podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And more importantly, tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for new episodes.